Each Q4 season, we do hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales on Etsy. Now, last Q4 season alone, in the peak 30 days, we did over $215,000 in sales on Etsy. We peaked at about 375 orders per day during last season. Now, in this video, I'm going to be sharing the top 3 Etsy metrics that are top of mind for me as we head into this busy Q4 season and prepare to handle the daily volume that's to come. So if you guys are new here, my name's Connor. My wife and I own multiple Etsy shops. We do this full time. We've done over $2 million in sales on Etsy. Those screenshots at the top there, those are real screenshots from our real Etsy shops. That big green number at the bottom, that's our total lifetime revenue on Etsy as of September 17th, 2025. And we're making these videos for 3 main reasons. Number 1, to document our journey from where we're at right now, $2 million, all the way to $10 million and beyond. Along the way, we're going to be sharing what did work, what didn't work, and what we're actively doing in our own Etsy business. And then finally, selfishly, we're making these videos to attract other Etsy sellers just like you who align with our values and who want to work with us to help them grow their own Etsy shops. So let's jump right into the video. If you guys have seen any of our content, you may know that this type of video is a little unique, a new format that I got going here. And the reason for this is over the last few months, we've just realized how much work it is to make content, to make these videos for you guys. It's a lot of upfront work and planning, and just a lot goes into it. But we want to help you guys. And so with that said, I'm going to try out a new format here with this new tablet that I got. Bear with me. Let me know in the comments below if you guys like this type of format. Essentially, I'm just trying to give you guys as much value as possible and just really just value dump on you guys. But at the same time, we got to prioritize our own Etsy shops. That's the primary part of our business right now. And so we're trying to do both. We're trying to help you guys grow your shops while also prioritizing our business. So we're going to try out this new format, and let's just jump right into the video. So like I said, we're going to be talking about these top 3 Etsy metrics that are top of mind for myself and my wife, Lauren. We literally have been talking about this week between the two of us and amongst our team of VAs. And so I thought it was fitting to share this video with you guys and just give insight into the real things that we're talking about in our business. So we're going to talk about each of these metrics. You've probably never heard of these, never heard of people talking about them, but they're super important. And like I said, literally what we're focused on right now in our own Etsy business. And I think they're super relevant for you guys as well. So I'm going to talk through each one of them. I'll define them. I'll explain them. We'll give a little more detail. And then at the end, I have a calculator for you guys that you can use that we use in our own business. So let's start with the first one here, which is our MPO. And so MPO is minutes per order. That's how we define it. So pretty straightforward, but how many minutes does it take you to fulfill each order? And now a high percentage of our orders, pretty much 100% during the Q4 season especially, are personalized orders. We sell a lot of Christmas ornaments. We sell a lot of tumblers, t-shirts, things like that, but 99% are personalized. And what that means is there's an intermediate step where you need to go in and personalize the graphic, update the graphic, and upload that to your fulfillment company and then submit the order. And all of that takes time, right? And so I mentioned last year we peaked at about 375 orders. And so you can imagine if you just assume, some number of minutes per order, that's going to be a really high number, right? And so the big question here is to understand how long is it going to take you to fulfill the number of orders that you expect? And is it even possible? Do you need help to do that? And so that's what this metric really helps you identify and understand. And so what I'll say is for us, what we've been able to accomplish over time is about 1.5 minutes per order. And so this includes like single unit orders. This includes orders of 5, 6, 10, whatever, where the designs are all different. It's an average across the board. Some are going to be quicker than others, but over thousands and thousands of orders. This is what Lauren and I have been able to average during that very busy peak time. And so at the beginning, dating back to a couple of years ago, Lauren and I started tracking this. And at first it was really, we were like a lot of you, right? We had full-time jobs, and so we could only do Etsy in the early mornings and the late evenings. And so we had very limited time, like only a set number of hours per day that we could work on Etsy. And so we had to be very strategic and just intentional with the time that we put in to handle this type of volume. And so we started tracking this. We'd say, okay, we have 100 orders in the queue. Let's set the timer and let's see how long it takes us. And that over time started to give us just a better understanding of how much work we needed to put in each day. If we need to start to increase our prices to slow volume, it's been really helpful for that. And it also creates somewhat of like this healthy competition where you're competing against yourself, really. Like, can I get the average down while still maintaining the quality, right? Not making the mistakes. And so, yeah, I would really encourage you guys to start tracking this. It's going to give you clarity into how much volume you can handle and if there's inefficiencies in your process, right? I would expect like a lot of the students that we work with when they first start this process and they start to become overwhelmed, a lot of times they're at like 3 to 5 minutes per order, right? And I always encourage them to try and get that down because I know it's possible. We've been able to get down to much lower than that. And with 3 to 5 minutes, you can only handle so many orders, right? You're at 3 plus times the number of time or the number of minutes that it takes you to do each order. And so you essentially can handle 3 times less volume. So we don't want that, right? We want to optimize our fulfillment and just allow for us to take on as many orders as possible and therefore be able to make as much profit as possible during the busy Q4 season. And so I mentioned that this was super top of mind. It's something that Lauren and I have been talking about this week with our team. We have 2 VAs. One of them has been through a Q4 season with us. The second one, this is going to be their first Q4 season. So we're having these daily conversations with them, preparing them, getting them ready for the volume that's to come, and making sure they're prepared and well equipped and have what they need to have a successful Q4 with us. So one of the things we've developed over time is this calculator, this tracking sheet, and I'll share that with you guys at the end. And we pitched this to them recently on one of our calls, and it wasn't coming from the standpoint of you guys are too slow. It wasn't that at all. It's really with the mindset of we want the team to be successful, right? We want the company to be successful. And we think this will really help you guys. And they loved it right away. When they saw it, it becomes, like I said, this friendly competition where they're competing against each other to see who can do orders quicker. They're competing against themselves and setting those goals, striving to get their MPO metric down. And so, yeah, it's been really important on our team, like literally this week, as I said. And I encourage you guys to start tracking this metric if it's something that you've never thought about before. And so I'll go through a brief calculation here. So let's just say 1.5 minutes per order, and let's say 375, right? And so what you guys can see if I open up my calculator here, so 1.5 times 375. So that's going to be 562 divided by 60 minutes. So that's 9 hours right there, right? So a lot of time. That's already more than one full-time person, right? And so this is going to equal our 9 hours. 9 hours of time. So that gives you a quick estimate of what would be required during that season. And this number right now, it doesn't include customer service, doesn't include anything else. And so I'll get into that a little bit later in this video of how I estimate those things. But for now, let's go to the next metric, which is our MPM here. So this one is minutes per mockup. And like I said, guys, I'm trying to give you guys just raw, authentic footage here. So I'm trying to do these in one take. If I sneeze, if I take a sip of water or whatever, I'm literally just going to keep it rolling. So I'm going to take a drink here and then we're going to keep going. So minutes per mockup is number 2. And this is very similar to number 1. But essentially it's a little different because the fulfillment process is different. So I'll explain this briefly here. So some orders that we get, they're more customized, right? And we call these custom orders. So there's a custom order versus just personalized, right? And right now we're talking about custom orders. And so the flow for custom orders really is the person orders, they send an image, and then when they send an image, we send a mock-up to make sure it's exactly what they want, to reduce refunds and just complaints from the customer, right? We do that intermediate step, but it's a little extra work and therefore it takes extra time, right? Then they eventually approve that mock-up, and then finally we submit the order, right? And so this step and this step right here adds extra time. And so it's no longer feasible to do all that process in just a minute and a half. And so the question is, how many minutes does it take you to send each mock-up, right? To do that extra step. And so for us, we've been able to average about 3 minutes per mock-up. And so again, this is extreme. This is after doing thousands and thousands of orders. We've been able to get down to about 3 minutes per mock-up. Now, if you guys are just starting out, I would expect that you're going to come in much higher than that as you first start to track this. When I work with coaching clients and students, when they first start to get overwhelmed, they usually come to me and my first question is, well, how long is it taking you to do each mock-up or each order? And a lot of times for the mock-ups, for these custom orders, it's taking like 10 to 15 minutes. And that's like a huge red flag, right? There's something wrong in their process. They're taking too long. It's not scalable unless they raise their prices 3 times, right? And then they price themselves out of the market. And so I really encourage them. I help them get their metric, right? Their MPM down closer to under 5 minutes, closer to 3 minutes per mock-up. And one of the main things that's usually the problem is they're disorganized. Their files are all over the place. Their Canva files are a mess. And that's usually the first thing we focus in on, is cleaning that stuff up. And if you guys, by the way, haven't seen the video that my wife Lauren did on our channel, it's like almost an hour-long video, super detailed. It shows you guys exactly how we organize our files and our back end, specifically Canva, which is what I'm talking about here. If you guys haven't seen that, make sure you guys go check that out. I'll link it at the end of this video so that you guys can watch that. But I think it'll be super helpful for you guys. And it's really going to help you get closer to this metric here, the 3 minutes per mock-up, because everything is exactly where you know where it is and you can get it with one click of a button. So yeah, make sure you guys go check out that video as well. But yeah, so these are the first 2 metrics. We have our MPO, or minutes per order. These are the standard personalized orders. Our MPM, minutes per mock-up. These are focused on our custom order specifically, where there's a little bit more work. We're sending a mock-up to the customer and we're striving for about 3 minutes per mock-up. And so again, we're having our team track this as we head into the Q4 season, really just to optimize those metrics, right? If you're not tracking something, it essentially means you don't care about it, right? The only way to truly improve something is to start to track it, right? And this is true in all different areas of life, right? There's studies that literally, if you just start weighing yourself every day and don't change anything else, don't even like start going to the gym, if you just start tracking your weight, people start to lose weight, right? They're more conscious throughout the day. They maybe take more steps. They tend to take the stairs instead of the elevator, whatever it is. But just stepping on the scale each morning, they end up losing weight without going to the gym or doing anything on purpose extra, right? So literally just by tracking, I expect over the next couple of weeks, and I think this has already happened, that these 2 metrics on our team are going to drop significantly, which is awesome. It's going to allow us to handle even more volume this Q4 season. So I want to show you guys a little bit more of a calculation here. We'll combine the 2 metrics that we just talked about. And so let's assume that we have 400 orders per day. Let's assume that's what we peak at this year, and we'll just use that for our calculation. And let's assume 300 of those are personalized. So 300 are personalized, And then that leaves 100. These are like the custom, where people are ordering custom photos. Think custom photo ornaments, where people are sending a photo, we send them a mock-up, and they approve it, and then we submit the order. So what this means, using those two metrics above, is we're going to have 300 times 1.5 minutes, plus we're going to have 100 times 3 minutes, right? And so what this is going to equal is 450 plus 300. So 750 minutes. If we grab our calculator here, so 750 divided by 60. So that's going to give us 12.5 hours. Equals 12.5 hours. Now, we haven't talked about customer service yet, but I mentioned that I would give you guys a little bit of insight. So customer service, when I'm estimating this, I assume about 25%, so times 1.25 or 25% of the order volume. So the amount of time that it takes to do orders, I'm going to add an extra 25% on top of that across the board for customer service, right? Customer service can get pretty crazy, especially when you have a huge number of personalized orders during the Christmas season. And so it's going to scale pretty much linearly with the number of orders that you're having daily. And so what I'm going to do here is 12.5 times 1.25. Again, we'll do this times 1.25. So that's going to leave us with 15.6 hours. So what that means is essentially you need 2 people full time, right? 2 people at 8 hours a day, full-time equivalents. We're going to need 2, right? We're going to need 2 people at 8 hours a day times 2 equals 16 hours. And so that's going to allow us to handle the 15.6 hours if we're having 400 orders per day. And so that's roughly how I estimate things. That's why we have 2 people on our team right now, plus Lauren and myself for backups. We can kind of double the capacity if needed. But our plan, our hope is that our team can handle all the order volume, all the customer service. They're well equipped this year to do that themselves. And that allows us to continue to pursue growth in other shops and continue to launch other product categories. And so hopefully this is helpful for you guys to kind of see the insight into our minds and how we're approaching this Q4 and just planning. And I know a lot of you guys don't have a team yet and you're like, so does this even apply to me? It absolutely applies to you, right? Lauren and I started tracking these things dating back to the last couple of years when, like I said, we were working full time. We didn't have a team. This was just a side thing, but it was so important for us to be intentional with our time. And these metrics helped us, allowed us to take on the volume that we did while working full-time jobs. And we had this dream, this vision that one day we would hire someone to help us and be part of our team and help us grow our Etsy business. And the only way that we could confidently do that was understanding these metrics, knowing, you know, do we have enough work for these people? And knowing what these metrics are has really given us the confidence and the peace of mind to lean forward and hire and build out our team and know, yeah, we do have the work for them. We need the help. And so you guys may not be there yet. You may not be at the point where you have so many orders that you need help, but start to track these things so you have an understanding of where you're headed and when you'll need help. So let's talk about our third metric here, which is our OIP. So I define this as our order issue percentage. And so this one's pretty straightforward, but essentially it's the number of issues divided by the number of orders. And so when I talk about issues here, for this specific metric, the only thing I'm talking about is your mistakes. So your mistakes. Not talking about fulfillment company issues, misprints, wrong products sent, broken items. I'm only talking about mistakes that you make. Like you literally type in the person's name incorrectly, you put the wrong date, you upload the wrong file. It was your mistake. You made the error, and therefore you have to refund or send your customer a new product. And the reason that this is so important is because it affects the bottom line. It like literally deducts from your profits that you're going to take home each month. And so it's so important to track and reduce this OIP metric. And so a target that we strive for amongst our team is less than 1%. And so 1 out of 100 orders or less, we want to make sure that we don't make mistakes, right? And so we track this very closely each week, each month. We look at the metrics on this among our team, and it really helps us. Again, like I said, if you track it, it means you care about it, and it's going to be optimized, right? You're going to see much better results than if you just turn a blind eye and ignore it. And so again, I really encourage you guys to track all 3 of these metrics and start to have a good understanding of what your targets are and what you guys are hitting. So I'm going to jump over to our spreadsheet here. And like I said, this is literally the file that we shared with our team earlier this week. They fill this out. They've been filling this out over this week, and it's helped them reduce these 2 metrics, the MPO and the MPM. The order issue one, you guys can track that separately. That's pretty straightforward. Just the number of issues divided by the number of orders. But try this for yourselves, right? This table here, it gives you guys a week of data that you can collect. You can add additional weeks, look at it over the course of a month, whatever you want to do, but start to track this. And I promise these 2 metrics are going to start to go down to where you want them to be just by starting to track them, just by intentionally looking at the numbers and tracking them each day, and strive for those 2 targets that I talked about, right? 1.5 minutes per order. Try and beat us. Maybe you guys can do better than us. Same with mockups. Maybe you guys can do better than us. That would be awesome. That means you can handle even more volume. So there's going to be a link down in the description for you guys to download this order metrics tracking sheet. It's free. You guys can go grab that. And then I'm also going to link the video that Lauren did here on the screen. So if you guys haven't seen that organization video for Canva files, make sure you guys go check that out.